All right, let's just dive right into this explainer. We're talking about the psychology of growth zones today. And to do that, I want to introduce you to a guy named Alex. Now, Alex is, well, he's probably a lot like you or me. He's got this massive dream of starting a YouTube channel. He knows the niche, he's got the ideas mapped out, and he genuinely wants to make it happen. But he doesn't. Instead, he's stuck in that classic agonizing loop. You know the one. Every single night it's, okay, I'm definitely going to start tomorrow. But tomorrow turns into next week, and before he knows it, next week has quietly become next year.
So, what's really going on here? It's so easy for Alex, and let's be honest, probably for a lot of us, to just shrug and blame it on laziness. But what if I told you your laziness isn't actually laziness at all? If we can just flip our perspective on this for a second, we can let go of a whole lot of guilt. We really need to look at this through a biological lens to understand what's actually firing in our brains when we keep avoiding the exact things we want the most. See, Alex is sitting there assuming his lack of action is just a huge character flaw, like this dark cloud of pure laziness hanging over him. But the reality? It is way more fascinating than that. Your brain is actually just quietly, and very effectively, pulling you back into a place that feels safe. This isn't a lack of willpower, guys. This is a literal evolutionary survival instinct kicking in. Welcome to the psychology of the comfort zone, where your biology is totally pulling the strings. To really get this, we have to redefine what a comfort zone actually is. It's not, a cozy physical room with a nice couch. It's a mental state of absolute familiarity. It's your daily routine, your habits, your environment. Heck, it's even your familiar, everyday worries. Inside this zone, your brain knows exactly what is going to happen next. And because the human brain absolutely despises surprises, it feels completely 100% secure right here. And there's a reason for that. This intense craving for familiarity, it's hardwired directly from our ancient ancestors. Think about it. Thousands of years ago, wandering into an unfamiliar place literally meant you might die. Back in 10,000 BC, a weird sound in the bushes wasn't just a distraction. It was probably a predator. Uncharted territory meant death. So evolution heavily rewarded the humans who just stayed put and stuck to what they knew. And here is the wild part. That exact same ancient survival alarm system is still running inside your head right now. It completely explains why something as harmless as launching a YouTube channel sets off the exact same biological panic as facing down a predator.
You see, at its core, the human brain is just a giant prediction machine. Alex's brain wasn't designed to make him a viral content creator. Its number one overarching priority is simply keeping him alive. If it can perfectly predict the outcome of a situation, it knows he's going to survive. But the second it can't predict what's going to happen, like when he tries something completely new, it automatically assumes the absolute worst, just to protect him. And that is exactly why change feels so physically terrible. When you step into the unfamiliar, your nervous system just lights up like a Christmas tree. I mean, your heart starts pounding, your muscles tense up, and you get this intense hyper-awareness. Your brain is literally screaming at you, hey, pay attention, something new is happening. The huge catch here is that your brain cannot tell the difference between a legitimate physical threat to your life and, say, a really amazing new career opportunity. So when Alex decides to skip hitting record for the day, his heart rate instantly drops, and he feels this massive wave of relief. And yeah, comfort feels really, really good in that exact moment. But fast forward a bit, and over time, that comfort zone turns into a cage. His cozy little routine has secretly locked him in. Sure, he's safe, but he is completely, totally stagnant. Because the truth is, staying comfortable comes with some really heavy hidden costs. People like Alex often end up stuck in jobs they hate, or just unfulfilling lives, simply because the familiar devil they know feels so much safer than the unknown. And the fallout from that? Their skills stagnate, their confidence never gets a chance to grow, and those big, exciting dreams they had just slowly fade into the background.
Which brings us to a pretty powerful realization. The absolute greatest risk in life isn't trying and feeling. It's never trying at all. Ironically, the comfort zone is the exact place where all growth just stops dead in its tracks. The real tragedy in Alex's story wouldn't be him posting a terrible first video. The real tragedy is a dream left completely unpursued, all because the illusion of safety won out. Now, this realization, this is a massive turning point for Alex. See, there's this huge myth floating around that wildly successful people are just born fearless. But the actual fact is, every single highly successful entrepreneur, athlete, or artist still gets that racing heart before they take a big leap. They feel the exact same fear that Alex feels. The only difference, the literal only difference, is that they act anyway.
And the reason they can push through is because they've mastered this one massive mental reframe. Fear is information, not a command. This is what finally clicks for Alex. When his chest gets tight before he turns on the camera, he realizes it's just data. It's just his nervous system saying, hey, this is new territory. It is not a non-negotiable order from his brain telling him to retreat back to the couch. Those high achievers we talked about, they don't sit around waiting for the fear to just magically evaporate, because it won't. Instead, every single time they survive doing something uncomfortable, their comfort zone expands a little bit more. Real growth doesn't happen by somehow deleting your fear of the unknown. It happens by taking action despite it and repeatedly proving to your primitive lizard brain, hey, look at me, I survived, I can handle this. And honestly, here is the most reassuring part of all this. You do not need to take some giant, reckless leap. Alex doesn't need to quit his day job tomorrow or completely upend his entire life to become a full-time creator. In fact, the human brain actually responds so much better to small, consistent challenges. You stretch that zone outward through tiny, totally manageable acts of courage. So what does that actually look like in practice for someone like Alex? Well, first, he just forces himself to speak up once during a staff meeting, just to build up a tolerance to a little bit of social friction. Next, maybe he takes a completely different route driving home from work, which forces his brain to map an unfamiliar environment. And then finally, he sits down, hits record, and posts his very first super unpolished video. It's this brilliant slow crescendo of just stepping slightly out of the familiar. No, with every single one of those actions, his heart definitely races. But he survives. And every one of those tiny victories sends a loud, undeniable message straight back to his nervous system. The unfamiliar did not hurt me. True confidence isn't something you can just conjure up by overthinking on your sofa. It's built out in the real world through these exact kinds of experiences. Over time, the things that absolutely terrified him just become entirely normal. It's so important to remember here that your comfort zone is not the enemy. It really isn't. It's literally just your brain trying to do its job. But here is the real catch. Your brain's goal of keeping you perfectly safe and your personal goal of finding genuine fulfillment, they rarely live in the same place. Better relationships, a more exciting career, real self-confidence, they all exist just on the other side of what feels familiar right now. By just consistently leaning into that discomfort, Alex's brain finally starts to grasp a totally new reality. I am stronger than my fear. And once your brain truly internalizes that lesson, a massive shift happens. It stops treating every single unfamiliar situation like a life or death crisis and starts seeing them for what they actually are, a landscape of new possibilities. So the ultimate takeaway from all this is that ordinary people exactly like Alex, are able to build extraordinary lives, not by somehow dodging all the hard stuff, but by actively choosing to walk right through the discomfort. Basically, everything you have ever wanted lives just barely past the boundary of what feels comfortable to you today. All right, as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a direct challenge straight from our source material. Really ask yourself right now, what is one thing you have been putting off simply because it feels a little uncomfortable? Got it in your head? Okay, I challenge you to commit to taking just one tiny, ridiculously small step toward it this week. Push that boundary, stretch that zone, and I will see you in the next explainer.